Are we really having conversations with large language models? That's a question I've been asked by friends and colleagues and students. It's also a topic of hot debate online. In my opinion, some of that debate is extremely well informed. Other parts of that debate are less so, I would say. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in consciousness or the nature of intelligence. Instead, I'm going to show you how you can work with these models through code. Now that we have open language models that we can install and run locally on our own hardware, this gives us the opportunity to study exactly how we are sending questions to language models and how we're building up these so-called conversations that we have with them. We'll use DeepSeek R1, or at least the 1.5 billion parameter version of that model, and that'll run locally on my machine, and we've installed that through a cool piece of software called Ollama. We're going to use Python to create our prompts and to pass those to the language model. And by the end of the video, you'll understand how we can have a conversation with DeepSeek through a Python interface, which is a pretty cool setup for research. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll have a look at what language models have been installed locally through Ollama on my machine. So I've got 3 installed at the moment. One is Thai4, which is from Microsoft. And then we've got DeepSeek R1. We've got the 1.5 billion parameter model, and we've got the 7 billion version of that as well. We'll work with the 1.5 billion as that's a bit quicker. We're not going to do anything complicated here. I'm just going to prompt the language model to create me a new Python function. And I would like that to be a super simple function that just, you can pass it Fahrenheit and it converts it to Celsius. So it's effectively a formula. So to prompt the language model through Ollama, I use the chat function. I select the model I'm interested in. Item 1 is the 1.5 billion parameter DeepSeek model. And I pass in my messages in this special format here. So it's a list that contains a Python dictionary. The first key is called role, and I'm specifying user. That just tells Ollama that it's me as a user that is constructing a prompt and passing it to a language model. Then the content key is the prompt itself, prompt 1. I'm setting stream to false here. So we're going to have a brief pause while the language model generates all of its text, and then that will be displayed on the screen. Okay, so we've got DeepSeek's chain of thought here. And then we get down and we have our Python solution. As I said, it's a really simple function. That seems all fine to me. So I would like to now continue that conversation with DeepSeek, thanking DeepSeek, of course, because I'm a polite Englishman, and then convert the function from Python to C#. So we'll create the prompt. We'll go down to our chat function again, select the same model we were using before, pass in the new message. So again, it's a user. We're going to pass in the content as prompt 2, and again, we'll turn streaming to false, and there'll be a brief pause while we wait for that response to be displayed on the screen. So here's the response from DeepSeek. So it's saying, okay, so I need to help my friend convert, that's nice, convert a Python function they wrote into C#. Where do I even start? First, I should figure out exactly what they did in Python. Maybe they had some custom object handling or classes. I'm not sure without seeing the code. Oh dear. So what this is demonstrating is that DeepSeek has no clue what I'm talking about, apart from that we're friends, which is very nice. So what we've ended up with is, yes, some C# code, but it has nothing to do with the Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. So what did I do wrong? Did I forget to set Ollama up in the right way so that DeepSeek knew that I was going to follow up the prompt? It's nothing like that. In order for DeepSeek to know about our conversation, we need to pass in all of the data, the original prompt, followed up by the response from the model itself. So we can do that through the Ollama package. So our messages list changes and looks like this. So we have our initial prompt or query to the language model, and back from that will come the language model's response. And we can add that, we can append that to the messages list. But this time we specify that the role is the assistant model in this case. And we append the response to the content key. So what I've done is I've created a function called format message. All that's going to do is accept the current chat history as a list, a new role and some new content. And it's going to append that to the history list and return that history list to the calling code. Here's the messages so far. So there was a prompt from me, and then there was a response from the assistant stored in response 1. And I'm just going to put all of that inside that Python list. I'm now going to add a new prompt. Okay, so I'm going to specify the role as user and pass in prompt 2. We can take a look at that. So we can see there's a prompt from me and it's thanking DeepSeek and asking it to return the Python function as C#. So let's run that again through the chat function and see what we get back. So now we can see DeepSeek has recognized they need to write a C# function that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. And we end up with our Python function converted to a C# function. That's great. I didn't really know what I was going to get. It's always a bit different each time you run one of these language models. So just to put the icing on the cake, I'm going to give the conversation history to a different version of DeepSeek. So now I'm going to pass my messages to the 7 billion parameter model that's also installed locally on my machine. And we'll see what it makes of it. And here we go. So it recognizes that the user wants to take their existing Python function and convert it from Fahrenheit to Celsius in C#. Excellent. First off, let's look at the original Python code so it can see that code in the context that we've passed to it. And we get a slightly more sophisticated implementation of that inside a class. Fantastic. So that demonstrates that we weren't having a conversation with the 1.5 billion parameter model. We were just passing it data and it was making a prediction. And so we can also take that data and we can pass it to a different model. It did not need to be the 7 billion parameter model. It could be any model that we've installed on our machine. Are we really having conversations with large language models? And the answer to that is sort of. I personally like to think of them as models that we pass data to and they generate an answer. The more context we can have within our question to a language model, the better the answer we will get. If you want to know how you set up Ollama and DeepSeek on your local machine, you need to watch this video here. See you next time.